All right, here we go with update number 17 on the M1078 LMTV. I have 3 not so big upgrades. They make a difference with the truck. So I'm gonna go over them and 1 repair. So let's get into it. So I was driving at night and I noticed it seemed like my headlights, one of the headlights was loose, and turns out it is. Don't know if I'm gonna be able to really record it until I get it off. There's the 3 little rubber isolators back there, and it looks like the bottom one broke. And you can replace that rubber isolator. I actually have it, but it's kind of a pain in the butt. What I'm gonna actually do is replace the whole can, and I'm gonna replace both my headlights because thanks to my friends at Armed Forces Supply again, he hooked me up with a pair of speaker headlights, a new light can. So I'm just gonna use that stuff and get it installed. It's very straightforward to do. Really appreciate the hookup from those guys. Link to their website in the description. They have 2 retail stores in the San Antonio area. They have an eBay store and they have an online website store. So I'm not really recording replacing this can out because at nighttime the video comes out like crap. I've already removed the old one, got the new one all set up with the new speaker light in it, the retainer ring. This is all ready to go. You can see how the rubber isolator kind of separated from it. It's still on there, so I gotta get it off and just gonna put the new one on. Cables in the back, just numbers match up. It's nothing rocket science to do. Why? Because these ones are going to be a little bit better. See the numbers, Mackie? See the numbers on here?
Yeah.
Can you read that number? I think you can. Look at it close and read it. Let's test it, kids. You ready?
Right. That is so bright. I put my rocks in here then. I put the rocks in here then.
All right, they're all installed. High beams are on right now. Tested. I did end up needing to actually adjust both sides. I'm not doing anything scientific here, like I'm not following the procedure in the TM. Just to give you a little sample here, driving with these speaker headlights on a really dark rural road. They're significantly brighter. And then with the high beams, I mean, they're almost like spotlights. They're fantastic. I'm impressed. It's pretty wild. Definitely have to make sure you aim these well. Another quick thing while we're talking about the headlights, swapped out in here. Well, I didn't swap it out, I had this off. This is a really nice infrared light. It barely fits in here, but it does the job. One thing I totally goofed on is this is a 24 volt light and 12 volts comes up here. So what I did was buy a 12 to 24 volt converter, step-up converter. So that way when I'm driving with my night vision and there's a really dark spot, I can turn this on. But most of the time you don't really need illumination when driving unless you're under like a tree canopy, at least in my environment, because here in South Texas, most of everything's really open. So you don't really need it. You get a lot of ambient light, but for the time being, that converter is up here, and that is wired into the circuit where the IR drive light is, so you can put IR markers on and just not have it on, and then flip that switch right here, and that will have the illuminator on, and that's just your markers. So it's real easy to turn it on and off. No extra wiring or anything to the truck, just using existing wiring. I was able to pick up a new spare for the truck. The rim wasn't in the best shape for the one that I got up on the truck, and when I changed the tires, I took the best tire that I had and put it on that rim, and it does not have a CTIS hose. And I found this one not too far from me. It was like less than 3 hours drive away, and it's a 2018 date code tire. Never been mounted on a truck, and it was stored in a guy's shed. The hose still had the plastic over it. He actually had it zip tied here to just kind of keep it secure, but moved it when we picked it up with this tractor. So now I got a tire that's in much better shape, wheel and everything, to put as a spare on the truck, and the date code matches perfectly with what I got on there, which is pretty cool. All right, I'm gonna test the wheel valve for the new spare. What I did is I rigged up the banjo bolt with this big washer and a couple extra of the seal washers. And I just have my rubber grommet on my blower, and I'm gonna push it against and just push air in, and you should be able to hear it start filling. And then when I pull it off, if this seals without air coming out, it should be good to go. You can hear the valve opened, it clicked. I'm gonna get a little leak around this. Do it a couple times. I don't know if you can hear it in the microphone, the valve clicking open. And just to confirm, let's see, we're at 65.5 pounds. I should make it go up at least a little bit. Yeah, it's 66.5 pounds. So it's good. Valve is good. I filled the tire up to 80 PSI like the rest of the truck is at. And then instead of leaving the banjo bolt on there, I just took a regular 5/8 nut and bolt to fill that hole so no mud daubers and stuff gets in there. Zip tied it off so it's tucked away. And I'm gonna swap it out. So in the process of putting the new spare tire up, I just realized that I've had a little bit of a leak from the cylinder right here develop. It's not bad, and it's still working, but I do have a spare one that's supposed to be good. Probably makes sense to just swap it right now. So the swap out on this is easy. Each one of these pins has a cotter pin, and then you just pull it out. And then there's two fittings over here. I believe it's 9/16. I sprayed some PB Blaster because of all the rust, and I'm gonna let it soak. Go eat lunch, and then start pulling the cotter pins. I'm gonna pull the pins so I could get at the hydraulic fittings. They shouldn't be that tight. Expect fluid to come out. I don't expect it to be under pressure. It could be. And then I'm gonna secure the hoses up in here to hold it high so it doesn't continue to drain fluid. Hopefully not too much air gets in the system when I swap it out. everything is fastened up. It was pretty easy, and I'm just gonna run it up and down a bunch of times, and hopefully it doesn't get stuck, hopefully nothing leaks, and hopefully purge that air out of there. Well, no leaks. Put it up and down more times than I really needed to, both by hand and by air. Seems good. Got the new spare up there. Decided to put the side of the rim with the valve and stuff facing towards the cab so it won't get beat on by the sun as much. Lubricated all the joints with some silicone spray. A little bit off the beaten path of just putting a new spare up there, but found a problem, fixed it. All right, my next thing on the list here, I'm gonna swap out the mirrors. Some of the other guys here on YouTube have already done this, and in the Facebook group, figured I'd jump on board with it for some of the same reasons as they have, for some extra reasons that I think will work out. And also, my mirrors and the brackets are pretty darn beat up on this truck. These are very bent and rusted out, so I really had to over tighten those to get these mirrors to stay in place since I've had the truck. Even just driving down the road from the wind. I did already do the passenger side just to kind of get through the learning curve before recording it. But I wanted to show you before I started, new mirror on the left, old on the right. And the bracket needs some bending and finagling to get it to work so that it will line up with the holes that mount into the door. And then also the brackets here don't have the same holes, so you got to line up the holes and drill them properly. The last thing that's kind of weird, but you can make up for it with the adjustment in the brackets that are behind the mirror, is you can kind of tell with the way I got it lined out, but more or less the cab is kind of like this. So your top part of the bracket for the mirror is a little bit longer than the bottom. So even though you're bending this, that makes up for it a little bit, but the mirror bracket ends up being a little bit crooked. So you gotta also adjust the mirror for that. Besides doing that stuff, I mean, it's real simple. Remove the old mirror, you just match up the old brackets, drill some new holes, bend it to get it close, and then adjust everything. But I'll show you the tools and then we'll start working through it. Here's the tools I used. A caliper for measuring some depths and stuff like that. 1/2 inch for some of the hardware on my truck, 9/16 for some of the newer hardware, 7/16 for some of the new hardware, same size wrenches. This is for taking the mirrors on and off the truck, 5mm ratchet, drill bits for doing the holes. Ultimately, you end up needing 1/4 inch. I got one a little bit bigger to just take the burrs off, pencil for marking the holes, and then a little impact and a drill, and safety glasses. So the last little trouble to deal with is when you take the brackets off, you have these holes right here. And the solution I came up with is, okay, I have these little plastic plugs from Amazon, and there'll be a link in the description, that pop right in. And if you want to make sure that they seal better, you could probably use a little bit of silicone or RTV. I'm gonna choose not to, because if I decide that I end up wanting to run a wire or something through here in the future, I could just pop it off without too much of a fight. But for right now, they pop in and they fit in there nice and tight. This is what they look like up close. and I'll be able to paint over them. Hey, thanks for recording me. Looks like you just woke up from a nap. You're having a lazy day, huh? With swapping these out, I had to remove the little tire mirrors or whatever you want to call them. And the solution I found was this blind spot mirror kit. Link in the description. I got them off Amazon and I did put it on both sides. And experimented for a while to figure out exactly how I wanted to position them. And this is how I found it to be the best. It doesn't see the tire completely, but what I like about it is in this position, it actually shows forward a little bit more. So you see like this area on your approach. And with it there, when you fold the mirror, it's still pretty far out of the way and it doesn't hit the glass even if your window is up. Kind of show you when you're inside the truck, see how much of a view it gives you. And it's on both sides, so you can see it through the little A-frame window. These are a great addition to this mirror upgrade. Then you can maintain your clearance mirror for if you got stuff in the back, and the wide angle mirror. There's a little bit of adjustment to those, it's not great. But definitely a worthwhile upgrade, being able to fold the mirrors in.